you first before I launch into questions proper, just an opportunity to get your opening statement out about the film, your canned statement that you have ready.
I don't know if I have.
You don't have a canned
I
statement?
don't. I am not like that. I never have.
Yeah.
I never have ready answers. I never do that.
I thought, like a good tagline for the film, which is something you discussed in the Q&A yesterday,
Yeah.
would be, it's like Jim Jarmusch does The Evil Dead.
Yeah. That's what we kind of discovered while we were shooting it. Like the DP was like, "This is really Evil Dead vibe here," and I was like, "Oh yeah," which was like the first movie that made me want to make a movie.
Yeah.
It made me think that I could make a movie.
Right.
It was like the Evil Dead. Yeah.
And I think I was thinking in that respect, you're a little bit different than me or a more casual film fan. As a filmmaker, you're probably looking at films and saying, I can do this. This is something that's within my resources.
Yeah.
I look at a movie and I say, if I were to make a movie, I think I'd make like 2001.
Yeah.
Or The Shining. But you're looking and saying, Jarmusch.
Yeah, see, I love like Deer Hunter, Apocalypse Now, but like as a kid watching those, it was never like I never thought that was attainable. It was never like, oh yeah, I see how they put this together. I think I can do this. It wasn't until like The Evil Dead I was like, okay, I see what they're doing here. I know what's going on. But yeah, so I think there's a difference for me is like between influences and inspirations. Raiders of the Lost Ark, inspires me to make films, but it was never influenced like my style or things like that. Almost like, like if a heavy metal, guitar player loved like opera, it's not really influencing his style, but it inspires him to make music, something like that. So like Star Wars is a big inspiration, but
It's a movie you love, but it's not a movie you would...
never want to emulate at all. I just no desire to do that.
You have no desire. So if somebody, for example, just as a hypothetical,
Yeah.
gave you $1 million
Yeah.
with the stipulation that you had to make a movie,
Yeah.
would you choose to make a $1 million movie, or
Yeah.
would you make like $100,000 movie?
Yeah, I would probably make $100,000 movies for sure. I wouldn't even know how to spend $1 million on a movie. And even on on Alchemist Cookbook, it was not a big budget, but I was like, boy, we got to scale this back. There's too many people involved, and this is bigger than I like. The first film I made, it was only like 3 of us.
Is that the short?
No, this is
or
8.
the first feature?
First feature, and then the second feature I made, Buzzard, there was like 6 of us. It was very comfortable, and this one, an Alchemist Cookbook, was like 20. Not that it was like I was going crazy, but it was just the first time I'd been in actually ran like a quote unquote like real set, and I was kind of like, I don't know about this. There's a lot of people running around, a lot of people asking me questions and things like that. So yeah, I'd make $110,000 movies. Yeah.
I thought that might be pushing it a little.
Yeah, no, I'd make $110,000.
$110,000 movie.
Because my first feature, Ape, was made for $2,500. So theoretically, I could make like 400 feature films.
Well, inflation.
Yeah.
Catch up with you.
Shoot them in Canada, the U.S. dollar stretches a little bit further.
That's
up
true.
here.
It's nice right now. And you're very comfortable. You have no desire to move up, so to speak, a level in filmmaking. You plan to continue making movies just like this as long as you can?
Yeah, small movies. Like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of times the money would go. I wouldn't be opposed if I had $1 million, I might, and I had the opportunity to hire like a really I would love to put. I don't know about George Clooney, but
somebody,
Leonardo DiCaprio in a small movie like mine, and just see what would happen. Like, see what that would feel like. I'd be interested. That'd be like almost an experimental film for me. Like, let's experiment with putting not that you could make $1 million movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. It would probably cost $10 million because he would take 90% of that budget. But yeah, like a big actor, and put him in a really small, dirty, grungy movie of mine, and just see what that would be like. And maybe even, like we do, no hair and makeup, no driver. You got to just take care of yourself you know.
There was makeup on the Alchemist Cookbook.
Yes, there was makeup. We had to make hair and makeup people, and yeah, we had all of that. That was my first time ever having that luxury of someone. Usually, if like makeup effects are required, that's me, doing it, or I have a buddy who'll come in for a day or two to do it. But yeah, this was different, and
I thought the makeup was very well done.
thanks. I wanted it very kind of minimal and not over the top. So
Well, I don't necessarily want to get into. It's a little difficult because I don't want to get into spoilers because I do
Right.
think that this is a little bit of a movie that you do sort of want to go in not knowing much more than the original setup.
yeah. I don't want to let anybody really know where this is going and how it gets resolved, because I think I want that to be kind of a surprise.
Well, the question I had asked you at the Q&A was about horror movies and whether you were going to continue making horror movies.
Yeah.
And I think your answer was kind of that.
Maybe almost a little bit of horror in everything I'm
Yeah.
into.
Definitely, I only saw Buzzard. I didn't get to see Ape,
Okay.
which upset me because I did mention Ape as a movie I wanted to see on my site, but distribution wasn't really great for that one. But Buzzard had a lot of references to horror movies.
Yeah, it's just about a guy who loves horror movies and makes his Freddy gloves. So that's going to be always influenced. I mean, if you walk into my office, it's just covered in horror stuff. So when I'm writing, usually I just spin my chair around and get ideas and inspirations from all the posters and artwork everywhere.
Do you believe that your future work is going to continue in the Alchemist Cookbook direction?
No.
Or are you going to just...
For me, Alchemist Cookbook was doing something much different than I'd done before. I feel like every filmmaker kind of has a moment where they need to almost like tell a poem instead of a story, and that was for me. That was what Alchemist Cookbook was for me. It was like, I want to do something, experimentally, narrative experimentally, where there's no exposition, or there is exposition, but very minimal, and it's kind of a puzzle that everyone kind of assembles themselves. So this was something I had to make. It's like I was just been doing kind of these angry white boy movies for a while that are set in the city, and I wanted to
do an angry black boy.
Yeah, out in the woods. Out in the woods. We'll get away from the city, get away from the white people, and do something, try to challenge myself a little bit, and get away from a traditional linear narrative. So, yeah, I think I did that, and it's not that I wouldn't want to do that again, but I'm already writing the next 2 scripts, and they're much different than Alchemist Cookbook. So I just want to kind of try to do different things every time I do it, but still maintain, my voice and not lose that.
Right. Well, the one thing about your voice that I think is really obvious is that it's always very character-driven, and it's always driven around a misfit, social outcast type of character. Is that the direction that's going to continue?
Yeah, I think, I don't know.
You're just drawn to
it's
these
just
kind
totally
of
subconscious. I never think about like, okay, let me make a movie about an outsider. I just never had an interest in heroes. Like for me, my favorite screen characters are like Alex from A Clockwork Orange and Travis Bickle from Taxi Driver. Those are the movies I see those, and it's like, yes, these are the kind of people I want in my movies, like that. You almost root for these guys and they're doing terrible, terrible things. So, yeah, I'm just drawn to those characters naturally.
And this is just a guess, but I would guess that when you're thinking of a script, you come up with the character first, and then think of where to put them.
Yeah, I come up with like a character and shove them into a setting, and then it's like, okay, now where can we go from here? They're kind of stuck in this setting. What crazy directions we could go. But then I saw, for the first time, a few weeks ago, I saw Broadway Danny Rose by Woody Allen. And it was just like, oh my gosh. It kind of like totally, I had just a moment where I took like 5 pages of notes while I was watching that movie. Like, I want to do something like this. Like, I don't know, this is just like a movie where you can sit down and or like if I could tell you the story of Broadway Danny Rose and you'd be engaged. I feel like most movies, you can't like, okay, check this out. Like, this is what happens. It'd be like, I don't know, there's so, like Broadway Danny Rose is such a story that can be told verbally and you can be interested in it. So I kind of have different ideas on where I want to go, where I want to have kind of a really almost like make a fairy tale, like a fable, like something you could tell aloud, and we wouldn't have to see it, and it would still be fascinating. So I'm really just pushing myself here. It's very difficult, I've discovered too.
So, because that would be like almost 180 degrees from this past movie.
Exactly,
which is,
where it's just images.
The challenge here must have been to write a script where there's just one character. He's almost never interacting with anybody but himself. So your Ty Hickson's the star, right? Did he improvise some? Was there some input on his part, or do you have everything that he's doing carefully scripted?
Most of the time it's the same way I work, and but with Ape and Buzzard, it was like the lead character was like one of my best friends, so we kind of had this almost non-verbal communication we could do. It was different for Ty because I hadn't known him before we started working, where I had to find a different way to work, and so to kind of communicate to him. So we had the script, and I was like, this script exists, but you don't have to say it word for word, and I want you to kind of come up with some new ideas and surprise me. Just surprise me every scene. And so after the first day of shooting, I think we finally connected, because I was like, this is what we're doing. It's like, we're doing jazz, man. We're just playing jazz. You know all the notes. Now just mess with those notes and play them in different order. And he's like, I get it. So usually we let the scene go, and I'd just let the camera roll, and I wouldn't say cut, and just see what he would do. I just wouldn't say a thing. We'd just watch him, and if he came up with something, a lot of that made the movie.
He had some great expressions, and it's really amazing that he can keep your interest with so little, really going on.
Yeah.
Sometimes he's doing experiments and things, but the audience has no idea.
Exactly.
He's like scraping parts, flint off batteries.
Yeah. And I was like, here's a lot of tools and a lot of toys, and just have fun with these things. Saw this battery in half. Let's see what happens. So I like to let the actors bring as much to the movie as I'm going to bring to it. To let them, get crazy with it.
And so it's easy because there's only one other character who speaks with the speaking role in the film, and his name is
Cortez. The actor's name is Amari Cheatham.
Amari Cheatham, and I thought he was great when he came in. It really changed.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's a total change.
The whole mood shifts
because now you have this dialogue that's like Tarantino-esque.
Yeah.
Really.
And that's his purpose in that film is to kind of show where Sean came from. A world and neighborhoods that he didn't fit into, with people that didn't understand him and that probably mocked him. So that was an important character to have, just to show a little. That's like our window into Sean's background, is this character. And I always like to shove comedy and nonsense into my movies too. So it's really important to not have this flatline movie, but have surprise audiences and kind of take them in different directions that they may not have been expecting.
And I think you're next, maybe here, but so we'll wrap it up. But not to spoil anything, but I think the cat food argument is going to be one of the highlights of the movie that people remember.
Yeah.
Which I think you alluded to in the Q&A
Yeah.
in a dramatic fashion.
Yeah, there's a scene in Buzzard where character
Spaghetti.
Derek is eating. That one too. Yeah. I was thinking of where he's eating the bugles off of a treadmill. That people really dig. But yeah, the spaghetti scene too. So
I think of the spaghetti scene. That's something like
Yeah.
I thought of reenacting in my hotel room.
yeah. Well, if they got room service, treat yourself.
Well, I had an incident with a bottle of wine trying to uncork it where I gashed my finger.
Really?
Because I didn't bring a corkscrew from home.
Oh.
And I thought, boy, that's this could have been in the movie Buzzard.
Yeah,
this sounds like
you got a
something
Band-Aid,
Buzzard
but
would.
put some duct tape around that. You all healed up, man.
Yeah. Well, anything else you'd like to add? You want to plug your next project, or
I don't know.
leave it a surprise?
Leave it a surprise. Yeah.
any idea when it might appear?
Well, if I continue on the track I'm going, 2 years.
2 years.
I made one in 2012, 2014, 2016. So I guess 2018 you'll see the next Potrykus film.
Well, we'll be looking forward to it, and
right.
try to make a really weird film in there.
Oh yeah.
Challenge yourself.
I should challenge myself to make a weird one this time.
Really weird.
Really
this one's
weird.
a little weird.
Yeah.
Weird enough for us to cover. So.
Okay. Well, cool.
All right. Well, nice to meet you.
Thanks, Greg.
Good
Yeah.
luck.
Yeah, thank you, dude.
Thanks.